I call the member for Gilmore.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Well, I don't know what the Prime Minister is talking about. He does not care about Gilmore. He flew into Nowra to do a press conference and then he flew right out again, a fly-in, fly-out PM. He didn't even take the time to visit my fire-impacted communities. I've spent every day since early December talking with people impacted by fire in my electorate. They have many stories to tell. And the common theme in all of these stories is that this government has plain and simply failed to provide the leadership, the guidance and, most important of all, they have failed to provide the help that people need to recover from this crisis. Last week, when I was in Batemans Bay, I stopped in to speak to Joe in Batehaven. Joe is a well-known local real estate agent. People know Joe and they rely on Joe. For weeks, Joe has been helping local people navigate the complex system of assistance that has dripped through over the last few months. Joe told me how people have been going into his office because they are so afraid of Centrelink that they come in shaking. People who, as I said yesterday, have been through hell on earth, but they are left shaking at the thought of calling Centrelink. One 87-year-old lady was told by the staff at the call centre that she wasn't eligible for any help and that she would need to go up a ladder to take down her curtains if they were so smoke damaged. This poor lady was so distressed she was convinced the police were going to come after her just for asking. So Joe has sat by their side and helped walk them through the process so they can access their $1,000 payment from the government. Joe has heard their stories and knows how much they are all suffering. They have been already through hell and now they are dealing with the second round. Joe's rental manager, Michelle, told me how she had spent her entire day, refunding holiday rentals because of cancellations. Hundreds of cancellations, thousands of dollars worth. When all day long you see people who come in shaking and crying and telling you heartbreaking stories, and then you have to process hundreds of cancelled bookings knowing this will only make things worse. That is a tough pill to swallow. When Senator Murray Watt, our Shadow Minister for Disaster and Emergency Management, came to the South Coast recently, we met with a group of local tourism operators. They were from places like Berry, Kangaroo Valley, Jervis Bay and more. Areas not necessarily directly impacted by fire, by the government's definition at least, but who had seen 70 to 80% decreases in their income since December. What some people may not be aware of is that during the height of the bushfire crisis, a tourist leave zone was issued. Absolutely necessary and appropriate for the situation, no question there. But the leave zone extended from Nowra all the way to the Victorian border, 14,000 square kilometres off limits in the height of the tourist season. The key thing that these tourism operators had to say was this: the government told people very loudly to leave, but they are not telling them very loudly to come back. And if they don't start, we will not survive. That day, while in Burrell Lake with Murray, we enjoyed some amazing fish and chips from the famous fish shop, something I highly recommend. And I have been spreading that message far and wide ever since. But to put it bluntly, this simply will not be enough to stop local businesses from going under, and it has already started. When I was in Batemans Bay, I was told about 6 stores that had closed their doors. But where is the government? What action are they taking to stop these businesses from going under? To help people who have been through the trauma of the bushfires only to be left broke and broken? Businesses in my electorate did not have the 16 days it took for this government to open applications for their small business loans. They need more help than a loan can provide, and they need it now. Where is the tourism campaign? Where are the grants and stimulus to get people back to the South Coast? Where is the leadership from the Prime Minister to respond quickly to this crisis? The fly-in, fly-out Prime Minister needs to come and meet with local businesses on the South Coast, but he better do it soon, because if he waits too long, there may not be any left.